and Vienna as this storm, this same storm that we had come through earlier, still was showing some signs of rotation. There you see we have a very bright new round of wind that is showing up. Now remember, we're getting far away from the radar here, but obviously we have some very high-speed outbound winds. We also have lighter indications of some inbound winds, and that is where we get that rotation couplet, as we were telling you about a little bit before. Again, this is 422 as it dives down in toward the Warren and Wethersfield areas. This is going to continue to the east, so Ohio 45 just north of Warren. That is where we are kind of concentrating our efforts. So if we draw the line here out toward Brookfield in the next 30 minutes or so, if this thing's moving 35 miles per hour, it could be moving a little bit faster. But again, we want to put a nice wide band on this and kind of tell you, if you're on 422, I would say get into your safety spots right now. 422 in the northern half of Turmbull County. Safety spots are a good bet right now. This is going to continue down just along and north of 422, north of Wethersfield in northern sections of Turmbull County. So Brown Corner, Howland, Vienna, Paynes Corner, and Brookfield. Those are the areas where we have the best indications of that rotation. You can see right here. This is it. And if we put on the shear here, let's see if we have any indications of shear showing up with the algorithms. And we do, definitely. So this is kind of a positive sign that we have spin that's taking place, and it will continue to move to the east. Now, keep in mind, the math being done to make this happen is often lagging behind the actual radar data, which is why we show you this. But you can't help but see right here, this is where we're talking, that bit of rotation. And again, that's going to move just on the north end of Warren here in central and northern portions of Turmbull County. The National Weather Service issued this as a radar indicated tornado, so we know that we have a strong storm, intense rainfall. Please don't go to the windows to try and see it. You won't. It is raining to beat the band within this thing, and we also don't have that like super vibrant kind of display that's showing up as far as the reflectivity. This is called reflectivity. It's literally the reflective properties of the rain and whatnot that shows up. And you can see these reds here. That's a sign that we have some very intense rainfall that is coming down. But by and large, when it comes to this type of a situation, we really rely on this velocity data. And this is the wind inside the thunderstorm. The National Weather Service's Doppler radar is watching how things are moving, what direction they are moving. We have this bright spot right here that is showing up, and that is an indication that we have some very high-speed wind potential that comes out of this. Look at that, nearly 70-mile-per-hour wind. At the same time, up here in Champion, now mind you, this is not a huge kind of distance here, but it's broad, and you can kind of see this little weakness, so that may be an indication that we have some winds that are going toward the radar. So the radar is picking up on the direction that the raindrops are going and whatnot. So if you have raindrops that are going toward the radar up here in Champion, and then you have those raindrops that are going away from the radar down here toward Leavittsburg, that's where you start to see that broad rotation. This is not the tight, super big kind of rotations. This is broader, but it's got some speed to it. So we're probably going to have the potential here for some wind damage as this continues to move to the east. So again, just to kind of keep everybody on track here, we are just north of Leavittsburg on 422. Here's Champion. I'd have to say, if you're anywhere from Champion to Warren, now is the time to get into your safety spot. Northern half of Turmbull County, and this is going to continue to move just north of the Warren area. So we're going to pick up this out here and then moving out toward the Howland area eventually. If we kind of try and shoot it down the middle here, and again, this is just an estimate over the next 15 minutes or so, some of the locations that we would want to be concerned about: Brookside Park, Brown Corner, Wilhelm Corner, and Kings Corners. We do have some pictures. I just retweeted a picture that was sent to me on Twitter of some branches down and whatnot at Pettibone and Richmond Roads in southeast Cuyahoga County. And so obviously that is something that is a bit of a concern. What did you say in the control room? Okay, thank you. They're going to try and show us that picture in just a moment and pull up my Twitter feed here. But just to kind of keep everybody in mind here, we are way southeast of Greater Cleveland. This is Trumbull County, so Warren, which sits just northwest of Youngstown. So we're clear over by the state line area. Champion and Warren, okay, specifically Warren, heads up for you, friends. This is coming your way, so get into your safety spots if you can. And you can kind of see how this is going to go just along and north of 422. So we're going to stay between 422 and Champion. So it's going to cut right over toward the Vienna area here. And as it does so, it's going to bring in not only torrential rainfall, but the possibility for some wind damage, too. Did you get that picture? Did you say? Okay, go ahead and pull it up. This is off of Twitter, obviously. Amanda Subler sent this in, but you can see the tornado. She says a tornado just went through Solon. This is the roundabout at Pettibone and Richmond Roads, and you can obviously see wires down, branches down, and whatnot. This is not confirmed tornado. This will not be confirmed until it's investigated by the National Weather Service. There was some rotation on the radar. That's clue number one, and we do have some damage left behind, but thankfully, this is not major damage. This is pretty minor, but we've had some pretty squirrely situations out in Geauga County this week and now this one. So this is why we pay good heed and credence to these storms as they continue to move through. All right, let's hop back out to the warnings here, and we are again in the northern half of Trumbull County, just north of Warren. This is coming into Warren. Now, this is a pretty sizable community here, everybody, so we want to give a little bit of a heads up to Warren, specifically the north end of Warren, but I don't want to, make people in the southern portions of Warren really kind of take a deep breath because you're still in the warning, but the circulation seems to be right up here and will continue to move on the north side of Warren. So Howland, I would have everybody get into place here. And again, this thing is coming with a lot of rain, unfortunately, and that rain is definitely going to obscure any kind of visibility you would have. So just don't even worry about, please stay away from the windows. Please, your safety is paramount in this situation. We do have a little bit of a notch, maybe an inflow here on the backside of this storm system. And again, when you pair it with this velocity data, or the way that everything is spinning and circulating, the way the winds are moving within the storm, that is an indication that we have this. Did you see the yellows go away? We have a new radar update and the yellows went away. That is a great sign. It's starting to weaken a little bit. Not that it was significant anyway, but it's always good when we see the colors back down a little bit. And there you see it still out in portions of Trumbull County. I have to reset my speaker in my ear here real quick because it's all garbled and sounding terrible, and that's always hard to concentrate when you're having to deal with that. So there we go. Oh my goodness, that's so much better. So all right, again, 422 has kind of been our area of concern that we've been watching very closely. We are just north of 422, just north of Warren. If you're south of 422 on the south end of Warren, I think it's all going to be north of you, but I hesitate to really back you off because you're still in the greater warning that has been issued by the National Weather Service. Let's check in with our shear algorithm here and see if we have any of the math that is still showing that shear. And yeah, you can see it's still showing that there is some rotation on this. Now, keep in mind, Mosquito Reservoir is right up here. There's Cortland, Mecca, obviously. There's a lot of vacationers going on here, so they may not even know this is coming. So hopefully they are paying attention to this. But you can see here on the satellite map just how packed Warren is with a whole lot of people. So this is something that is of great concern, obviously, because this is coming into a heavily populated area. But the southern side of Warren, I think, is not as much in the thick of things as areas on the and on the north end of Warren. The yellow came back, everybody. It's still circulating, and we still have the potential for some wind damage to come through. So we are getting much closer into the city of Warren now, if not in the city of Warren, with this particularly tornado-warned storm, and this is going to continue to move to the east. So I'm trying to figure out what this road is right here. It's driving me crazy that I can't get that marker there in the middle. Let's see if I zoom in a little bit more and I can figure that out. Maybe that's 5, maybe it's 82. Anyway, it's kind of snaking just north of Warren. If you're in this area, certainly you know what it is, and that's what's most important at this point. But there we see that little wind spike that is on the north side of Warren, just now crossing Ohio 45. We are north of 422 in Trumbull County, and we'll continue to watch this thing doing as it moves out to the east. Again, heads up for Vienna, heads up for Howland as this continues to move to the east at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. I would say we are now severe clear for areas out in Southington. Champion, you are severe clear at this point, and Ohio 5. You know what? I'll bet you that's Ohio 5 that comes through. 5 and 82 probably run concurrently right there. But there you go. That's just north of, or just south of Ohio 5 and north of 422 on the north end of Warren as that little wind spike is going to continue to move in. Let's put another track on this. We're going to give it a little bit of a wide range here, about the next 20 minutes or so, and that's Wilhelm Corner, Howland, Vienna, and Tyrrell, or Tyrell, whichever way they're going to pronounce it. They know what they're talking about out there. We also have Payne's Corner in there. Lordstown, you are not in this. Weathersfield, you are not in this. Champion, you're severe clear. Levittsburg, you are severe clear. City of Warren, specifically the north end of Warren, in the basements. Now is the time. You want to make sure you are prepared. And then, of course, for Howland, Vienna, Tyrrell, and Payne's Corners. I'm going to pop in on the chat here with the National Weather Service and see if we have any reports that have been coming in. Everybody's been so gracious today and kind and dealing with us, and we really appreciate that. We want to get the word out to everybody so they can stay safe and make good decisions for them. I'm not seeing any damage reports or anything from the National Weather Service, so that is some good news. But we still are seeing this circulation, and that yellow disappeared. That's that high-speed outbound wind. It disappeared, and now it came back a little bit. So I don't have any green right next to it. That's a very good sign. That's a comforting sign. But we still have the potential, because under the radar beam is where all the action takes place, and that's what we saw earlier. We saw that earlier in the week in Geauga County, there was barely a blip on the radar of rotation, but we had an EF0 tornado that touched down, damaged a house and a barn. We have damage that's been reported that we just showed you on Twitter that is at Pettibone and Richmond Roads in Cuyahoga County and Solon. That was where this whole thing started. So this is that same storm that came out of Cuyahoga County, came through Geauga and also Portage counties, and now continues to move to the east-southeast at about 35 to 40 miles per hour or so. And as I mentioned, it's not just the tornado threat out of this. We have some really heavy rain that's coming in too, and that rain will just continue to obscure any possibility of seeing anything. So please don't go to the windows trying to look out and get the video or whatever. It's just not worth it. You stay safe, you stay inside, and the big thing here is that we will watch it go out of town, thankfully, and that will hopefully mean it will fall apart and nobody's going to get hurt. We have not yet had any reports of anybody getting hurt this afternoon, thankfully, but we have had some swift water rescues, some water rescues because of this storm and because of other storms, because we are just absolutely soaked as far as the rainfall goes. Warren, good news for you. It's now passed. So the city of Warren, specifically downtown Warren and west, you are severe clear. Howland, you would be up next with this thing coming in. So if you are between Warren and Howland, stay in your safety spots for now, friends. I ask you. We're going to get into where we're kind of conflicting with the radar beam with Pittsburgh. You can see it kind of switching back and forth. So the radar in Cleveland runs the warnings and whatnot. They have jurisdiction over Turmbull County, but the Weather Service office in Pittsburgh has their radar, and they can also see this far ahead. That's what's interesting, because if we flip the picture here, it's kind of showing you that we're getting a wind speed max in both radars. So we're looking up high, but both radars are showing that wind speed max here as it's headed toward 82 and the Howland area just to the northeast of the city of Warren. So we'll kind of have to play the game here as we go back and forth a little bit with this particular county, where we can get two radars for the price of one, if you will. The bad news is that the radar is heading pretty high up in the storm. But the worst of it is now past Warren. Now you may ask, why did the radar colors change? Well, remember, there's differences in the location. So the Cleveland radar, which is, there we go. We're going to pop back and forth. There, they've updated the warning. So their city of Warren is now out of the warning, as you can see right there. Champion, severe clear. Warren, you are severe clear, but we're going for Howland and Vienna, eventually over toward the Brookfield area with this updated warning. This is this purple that you can see there. It's north of Wethersfield, stays north of Youngstown, out of Lordstown completely. but still circulating to the north and the east. And again, when you're talking about the velocity data on the radar, the reds and yellows are outbound winds. That is wind going away from the radar. Greens and blues are wind coming toward the radar. So that's where you get that circulation. Now, if we move the radar, you have to keep that in mind if you're going to be showing anything. So it lines up beautifully with the back and forth because the Pittsburgh radar is to our south. So now the outbound winds are red and the inbound winds are still green, but they have flipped directions. It's a 180-degree flip. So that's one of the fun parts of trying to figure out radar. Some days it gets a little bit tricky, but we still kind of are showing up with that wind max and the variation there. Again, not a tight wind, okay? This is not anything that's super tight, not anything that is overly concerning. Mostly, this is a problem because of how high the radar beam is hitting. If the radar beam were hitting lower, we would have much better confidence in what's going on out here. But when you combine both radars, we also have that little bit of what's known as a notch here on the back. That could be a sign of some kind of inflow on the back that helps to rev up that circulation. You kind of have to put all the puzzle pieces together. We've got one little lightning strike showing up here that is in this storm. We have not had a lot of lightning in all of this, and that was something that was discussed at length in the last round of tornado warnings that we had, just simply from the fact of, you know, you don't always hear thunder and see lightning in thunderstorms that can produce tornadoes. It happens. So it's a wind-driven event, and certainly when you're talking about low in the atmosphere like what we've had today, and we have just so much humidity going on, that really does kind of take away some of the punch and the confidence, actually, when you're starting to issue these warnings and follow these warnings. But certainly things are still moving along a little bit here. Let's get another track on this. I'm going to use the Pittsburgh radar just simply because I think it's got a better representation of what's going on. I mean, we go back and forth. They're both still showing some wind maxes. There's the wind max on the Cleveland radar. So we're just north of 82 coming into Howland and Vienna, out of Warren now. So Warren, again, you are severe clear. If you're in Warren, you can get out of the basement. That's some good news there. Hopefully we don't have any damage. Certainly no injuries, please. But we are in Howland right now, headed for the Vienna area on 82. We're in Trumbull County. So Ohio 11, State Route 11 and 82, State Route 46 and 82. But again, we're just along and north of Ohio 82, so State Route 42, Howland, Vienna, specifically to the north of Wethersfield and east of Warren. Bullendale, you're out of it. Don't worry about it. Fowler, I think you're out of it too, up here to the north. I think you're far enough away that you don't have to worry about that nearly as much. So that is certainly some good news. But some scary times. You know, there's a lot of people that have questions. This day and age, it's a little bit different than the good old days, like a couple years ago, when everybody's phones did not go off. Now everybody's phones, if their phone is connected to a cell tower in this area, their phone just went berserk and they start asking questions. They flip on the TV. That's why we're here for everybody. So, you know, if you are not impacted by this, you have a much better day going on than the folks who are impacted by this, just simply from the standpoint that it's a very stressful situation for a lot of people, and it's very stressful for us too. But that's the least of the worries here. The big worry is all the people that are in this box here in the central and now southeastern portion of Trumbull County. This is where we have that tornado warning that is active. And I don't like to give the end times of tornado warnings simply because I think they give a false sense of security to a lot of people. They think, oh, it's over. Well, then you have to pop back on the air, and here we go. So we still have to deal with it, unfortunately, and that is certainly where we are. So central Trumbull County, it's kind of skirt just north of Youngstown. So this particular cell is spinning just north of Youngstown. Again, Howland and Vienna. We're south of Mosquito Creek, so that's the good news for those folks. And now it is out of Warren. So if you have friends or family in Warren and they have been texting you or whatnot from their safety spots and they're saying, is it okay to come out? in Warren, the city of Warren, you're good to go. I think things are a lot better. And if we take a look at the big picture, you can see that's really our only problem child right now. We still have so much water to deal with, friends. We have more rain that is coming in the forecast. Kerry Coleman joining me in the studio this afternoon. He's going to keep an eye on that forecast build for us this evening. We'll get you the latest on that tonight at 6. But we have flood warnings for Richland and Ashland counties, where we had rescues in the very early mornings, water inundating basements and whatnot, just awful conditions. And then we also have a flash flood watch that continues for our counties like Richland and Ashland, Medina, for Wayne County, for Holmes County, Stark, Summit, Portage County, Trumbull County, and Mahoning County. And all of that will go until Tuesday morning if it's not expanded or extended beyond that. So things are definitely looking a little bit better. Okay, so this is the good news, everybody, but we still have this one storm that continues to cause problems. And again, this thing is putting down not only the potential for the tornado, but it's just a lot of rain, flash flooding. There were water rescues associated with this storm and the intense rainfall that it is producing back off to the west in Cuyahoga County and southern portions of Geauga County. So that's kind of the layer cake concern levels that we have as this thing just kind of continues to spin. It just won't let go, everybody. We still have that wind max that's going there just to the east of the Howland and Vienna areas now. We're going to get back in and get a little bit closer. We're right on 82 in Turmbull County, so it cuts right here. This is State Route 82, so we have State Route 193. Here's 11. 11 is a very popular connector for a lot of people who try and get away from the turnpike. They don't want to pay the tolls, so they hop off of 80 and get on 11 and come up to 480, but that's just one way to do it. But you can see there's 82 right there, and here's that circulation. Here's Vienna, there's Brookfield, as this continues to move to the east again at about 35 miles per hour or so. So let's put a quick track on that. Let me get out of the way here. Let this thing do its job, and we're going to put that track. I'm just going to go just south of east into Vienna, Paynes Corner, Brookfield, and Massey too. That says we head over toward that state line area. Let me pop over and see if the National Weather Service has anything else they are going to be saying. Nope, it's mostly about flooding. We still have flood warnings that are going on. And then this particular storm, when they updated it, they were still saying 35 miles per hour movement on this one. So in central and southeastern portions of Trumbull County. So away from Hubbard, away from Youngstown, now out from Warren and headed east just along and north of Route 82, which cuts right here. That's Ohio State Route 82 in Trumbull County. So, Kerry, I don't know if you have anything else of great concern that you've been watching this afternoon. He's on the phone trying to get some more information going for us. But, you know, everybody, this is one of those situations where, you know, things kind of get a little crazy in an instant when these surprises happen, and they do happen. I mean, that's part and parcel with doing weather sometimes, unfortunately, getting some more lightning on this. But, you know, we had this intense rainfall. We knew rain was going to be our main issue, and every now and then we get these little squirrely storms that spin up and try and make life a little bit more miserable for everybody, because we don't have enough going on with rain and flooding and dreary days and whatnot. We have to throw a little bit more excitement into the action, unfortunately. And so the folks over here in portions of Trumbull County are just about, I think, to get cleared of this as this does continue to move outbound. The National Weather Service is obviously keeping a close eye on it. Vienna, hold your spots. You're still in it, friends. And boy, we're still seeing that little wind max. Let me see if I can bounce back and forth a little bit. Let's see if we can pick up the Weather Service office in Cleveland. It doesn't want to pop on. Look at that. There it is. You got to kind of hit the little sweet spot right here between the two. And you can see they're lining up still. We still have that wind max. There's the wind max on the Cleveland radar. And then you move it a little bit and the Pittsburgh radar still has the wind max. They line up pretty well, maybe just a little bit off from each other. That's just an angular thing. But you can see 82 right here coming into Vienna and State Route 193. That's where that wind max is. So right over Vienna, we have the inbound to Pittsburgh winds, outbound from Pittsburgh winds, and so that's your circulation right over Vienna, just north of Route 82. And again, that will continue to move to the east. Howland, you are now severe clear. If you are along State Route 11, you are now severe clear. That's the good news. So now we're kind of honed in on Vienna over toward the Brookfield areas. And again, it's just north of 82. I think this thing is trying to take the side roads, if you will, as it continues to move to the east. So we like to stay on as long as we can with these tornado warnings. These squirrely darn things just can be kind of problematic for us. I'm not seeing anything that is overly concerning, so I think that's a good sign. But one other thing is that, you know, we kind of have to keep in mind that there's people who do watch us. The Youngstown television market covers this area as well, so you kind of have to play the game a little bit, but this circulation is definitely still problematic. It's still windy, but we're getting so far away from the radar now, I think we've probably lost any kind of ground ability to really see that circulation showing up. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to pop off. Let me check the Weather Service one more time. Not seeing any new information, and I haven't seen anything else as far as Twitter or whatnot that our crews have been sending in. So I think what I would like to do is give this one more minute, just to give me one more radar scan before we turn y'all loose. We're going to hit the state line here in about 10 minutes or so, so then it'll be out of the area anyway. But, you know, we kind of have to wait for information. This is a system that's set up to put out information every 2 minutes or so, and sometimes 2 minutes is just 2 minutes too long. And there you see, we still have that little thing. Let's check the Cleveland radar real quick. Still seeing that wind max, but we're seeing it very high up in the atmosphere as it continues to move out to the east. So I think we're going to let the Youngstown television stations take this one. So if you are in southeastern portions of Trumbull County, you can turn it over to WFMJ. That's the NBC affiliate there in the Youngstown area, or any of your Youngstown affiliates that will kind of keep you up to date on this one. But we're going to turn back to programming here on WKYC Channel 3. Keep an eye on things. Hit me up on Twitter or on Facebook. I'll be checking those here right away. Thanks so much, everybody, for your patience. Be safe.
We now join our regularly scheduled program, already in progress.
The finish line, Little trying to hold on to the lead, now still has it by about a stride. Tate had to switch